So you're using Wix and you've added some custom fields like this favorite song or birthday field to your Wix checkout page. And you're trying to figure out how you can access that data after an order has been placed. Welcome back to the Wix Wiz. I'm Eitan, and today we're going to be addressing that question exactly, which was raised also on the Wix forum. And we're going to be taking a look at why it's so challenging to find those custom fields and some ways that you can still programmatically, using just a few lines of code, gain access to those fields and then do whatever you want with it in terms of processing the data. If you want to learn how to do all that and more, let's get started. In today's tutorial, we are going to be addressing a concern which was raised in the Wix forum. That's forum.wixstudio.com, which, even though it's at wixstudio.com, ironically is for both Classic Wix and Wix Studio. And the question that we're going to be talking about today is, where can I find the data collected in the custom checkout form? And Molly, who posted this, is trying to find that data, and she's tried automations and she's tried a bunch of other things. And we have some suggestions from Noah here as well, which we're going to take a look at. So before we talk about solution, let's hop in and understand what these custom fields are in the checkout that everybody is talking about. So if we head over here to the dashboard in Wix, specifically into settings, and then within settings to checkout, we have the option here to edit the checkout form in Wix. Wix's checkout form is notoriously very uncustomizable, but there are some things that we can change. And one of those is to add some additional custom fields to the checkout form. So for example, over here, you'll see I'm editing currently the checkout form, and we have the option over here to add a custom field. So if, let's say, I add in a short answer over here, I can just give it a field title and say, what's your favorite song? Okay, I'm just making things up over here. Probably not something that you typically want to collect inside of a checkout form, and just go ahead and hit save. And that would add it in. Another thing I could add in, for example, is some other thing like a date picker. And then I can ask, let's say, what's your birthday? Okay. So really just, I mean, there are many more types of form fields and stuff you could add in here, but this should be enough for our sake in order to demonstrate. So I'm just going to go ahead and save these changes. And now let's head to our live site in order to see what these actually look like in the checkout. So I'm going to go over here to the editor, and I'm using a dev site, which will allow me to actually go through with checkout, even though it's not really a premium website. And it has a basic kind of Wix stores template over here installed. So I'm just going to go ahead and publish this site. And then we're going to head over to the live site and add an item to cart, and then go through the checkout process just to see what this all looks like. So I'm going to go over here and just head over to the shop and just add one of these cookies to cart. And then view cart, and really head to where we want, which is the checkout page. So let's go ahead and see what this checkout looks like. So here we are on the checkout page. And as you can see here, the two custom fields that I added in are included here in the checkout. So let me go through and add in all the details that I would need for a checkout, including those two custom fields. So we have some data to work with and what to play around with, and see where exactly the people who were commenting on the forum were struggling in terms of finding the data from those custom fields. I've finished going through the checkout process, including filling in the custom fields. This is the thank you page. And now let's explore where we would typically take a look for that data and how the people in the forum were trying to find it and where they were struggling. So if we go back over here to our dashboard, and we just head over here into our sales section, then we're able to see our orders. And if we go into each individual order, so this is my order I just placed, and we scroll down over here, so inside additional info, we can get this custom field data. So that's where typically you'd be able to find it. But for some site owners, they may need to collect that data inside of something that's a little more friendly for data manipulation or data aggregation. Because here, this would essentially mean that they need to go into every single order and go and see these custom fields over here. So they might be trying to create a way that streamlines the collection of this data. So they need a way to access this data that would allow them to then do something else with this data and collect it in a certain way. So one place that some people on the forum explored is to go to the actual data collections for the orders. So if we go back over here to the editor, and we head over here to turn on dev mode, here inside of Wix Classic. If you're in Wix Studio, then you do that here on the bottom left. Then we'll have access to our databases, and specifically also the stores databases and the orders database. And if we go over here and open up this collection, what we could do is we could go ahead and search for a specific order, which is the only order that we have at the moment, and see if we can find those custom fields there. And you'll see here that while there is kind of this custom field inside of the collection, there isn't any very clear data over there. Let's see if we can find it anywhere else. No, so I don't see anywhere else. Let's see, activities. No, I don't see anything. Shipping info, also not included there. And yeah, so I don't really expect to find much here because I already know from the forum that people didn't manage to find, but I'm just kind of taking you through where they were searching for things and also kind of teaching you a little bit about where to find data about your different orders on the way. I also see that there are no hidden fields here that would have been relevant to that. So we can't get the data from the orders collection itself. So something that some people tried to set up is an automation. So if we go over here to our dashboard and we go over here to automations, we can go ahead and create a new automation. I'm just going to go ahead and start from scratch. And for the trigger, we can use an order being placed. So let's go ahead and see over here, we have order placed. And then let's say after that, we want to add the data from the order to, let's say, a Google Sheet or something like that, which will help us manage all of our orders and see all of the custom fields that were put in. So for action, let's go ahead and just select here, let's say Google Sheets, update Google Sheets. And if we take a look here at the order, and if we take a look, at the Google Sheet, so we're going to have to go ahead and connect that to an actual Google Sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that quickly. And then once we do that, I'm going to show you what the next step would theoretically be in order to use the custom field in the Google Sheet. I've done the basic setup for connecting an action inside of Wix automations to a Google Sheet. It's really very straightforward, so I don't think I need to walk you through it. But once you do that, you'll have the option to essentially match data from your trigger to the actual Google Sheet. And I've set up my Google Sheet with these headers inside the Google Sheet itself. And here we can select data essentially from our order in order to pass that data to the Google Sheet. And here is really the problem that everybody on the forum was encountering, is that the custom fields are not included here inside. So if I search here, let's say for custom, or if I go through all of these and I look for all the different things that are included here with the trigger, none of them are the custom field. So just to recap, we can see the custom fields in the individual orders in the dashboard, but we don't have access to that data from the Wix data collection. And we also don't have access to it through Wix automations. So that leaves us a little stuck. And what I want to show here is an implementation which will allow us to get that data using the Wix Velo or JavaScript SDK APIs, which was one of the recommendations of Noah, but I'm not sure everybody would know exactly how to do that. And after I show you how to do that, If you stick along and subscribe to the channel, next week I will be showing how to run automations using a custom trigger. And then once you put that and that together, you should have a custom automation, which would take your custom fields from your orders and put them wherever you want, whether it's a Google Sheet or some other action that you want to take. So let's hop in and see how we can get the data from our orders inside of the Wix Velo or development environment. The first thing that I want to do together is to get an order using the order ID. While this is probably not what you're going to use if you want to create a streamlined workflow where as the orders come in, you'll be able to trigger some kind of automation or collect the data, I do think that it's important to just see this specific API to get an understanding of how these things work in general before we head over and talk about how to create it in a more streamlined way. So this is the JavaScript SDK documentation. It's the newer documentation as opposed to the Velo APIs. And you can use either one. There should be APIs for both. Specifically now we're within the ecom section of the SDK and subsection of orders. And specifically, the API that we're taking a look at is the getOrder method. Okay, and luckily we have these very handy code snippets over here, which can really help us get started really quickly, especially if we're just doing some stuff in the backend. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy the backend code that we have here in this code snippet right over here. I'm just going to Control-C that, and I'm going to head over to our editor. And within our editor, remember, we turned on dev mode before. So here, if we click on the backend and public squiggly brackets over here, then we have the option here inside the backend to add a web module. I'm just going to call this web module orders. And inside of this web module, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything, get rid of it, and just paste in the code that I copied over from the Wix documentation. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to install these two packages. So we can just hover over it and just click install now for each of them. If that doesn't work, you can also install them from the npm package manager over here. And while those are installing, we pretty much have everything that we need over here. The only thing that we're going to need is an order ID. And we can go ahead and get an order ID by going to our databases and going to stores, orders, and opening up that collection. And just look for the ID of one of these orders. And I only have one order at the moment, so it's going to be pretty simple. If you don't see the ID, you might need to go to Manage Fields and turn on the ID, which is a system field. Don't confuse the ID with the order number, because that's not the same thing. We're looking for this ID right over here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that over. And what we can do is we can actually run this function from our backend by clicking this blue button right over here, and then just paste the order ID that we copied right over here. And hopefully when we go ahead and click run here, it will give us back the order. So here we go. So the function was returned with this order. And you can see here that we have lots and lots of data here about the order. And some of that data should be the custom field. So let's go. So over here, you can see custom fields. And if I open it up, then I actually do not see the custom fields there, which is rather surprising, which means that we probably have to look somewhere else for those custom fields. I did a little poking around, and it turns out that the custom fields here is a red herring. So what we're actually looking for is the extended fields right over here. Okay, so if I go ahead and I open up these extended fields, then under that there's namespaces, under that there's user fields, and under that we have the two custom fields that we added into our checkout. Okay, so it's a little counterintuitive. It took me a second to find it as well, but that's essentially where we're looking in the data for our custom fields. So now, in terms of building blocks, what you have is you have a way using your backend code to retrieve the data of your order, including those custom fields, which already gives you a little more power and a little more control. Now let's discuss some other APIs which may be even more useful for you in terms of creating a streamlined workflow. So if we go over here to back to our documentation, one more API that we have over here is the Search Orders API. This is a little more complex, and I'm not going to be hopping into it today, but theoretically this would allow you to retrieve a large amount of orders, and then you could process data in bulk, essentially, using all of the data that you got back from those orders. What I do want to talk about is another thing which I think is even more useful, and that is this event. So onOrderCreated. Okay, this is an event which is going to run in the backend of your website whenever a order is created. You'll notice here that in the JavaScript SDK, since we're developing on a website, we're instructed to actually use the Velo backend event instead. Okay, so we can go ahead and click over here, and that's going to take us to the Velo documentation. Okay, stay with me. And then over here, we have the events and service plugins, and we're going to look here for e-commerce and specifically events. And we're going to be looking for the onOrder event. So onOrderCreated event. Okay, so this is the event that we want to implement. And essentially what this is going to allow us to do is to run certain code whenever an order is created through our website. So what we could do here is actually just copy this code snippet that we have, the Wix ecom onOrderCreated. And now I'm going to show you where to put it inside of the editor. So if we go back to the editor and we go back to our backend and public, and specifically backend, we go ahead and we add in our handle backend event. So this is going to add a file called events.js. And what we need to do is just, again, Control A, get rid of all that, and paste in the code snippet that we copied from the documentation. Now, essentially what this is going to allow us to do is to access the data about that order whenever an order is created, so in live, in real time. And what we could do over here, so we have here event metadata and event entity, so we can understand what those things are by looking at the documentation. So if we go over here to the event and we open up the entity, so this, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be the order itself. And the metadata is just some data surrounding the creation of the order. So really, we're going to want to tap into this entity. And as part of this entity, we should have access to those extended fields. Again, not the custom fields, but rather the extended fields, which is the data that we would want to use to, for example, trigger something or handle that in some way in our backend. So let's go ahead and implement that. So what we'll do is we'll try and get these extended fields. So we'll go here into extended fields namespaces, and we already know what the namespace is from our other little experiment that we did. So let's go back over here to our editor. And first of all, let's go ahead and get the entity. So const order equals to event.entity. Okay, just like that. And then what we could do, we could add in, let's say, a console log just to see what the order looks like. And we could also drill down and get specifically our custom field. So we could say const custom fields equals to, and that's going to be our order dot extended. And we're going to have to kind of jump back and forth now in order to get all that data. So if we open this up over here, let's look over here, custom fields, extended fields. So I'm just going to copy it over just so I don't make any mistakes over here. So event.js, order.extended fields dot namespaces, namespaces. And then within namespaces, we had one more thing. Let's go ahead and remind ourselves what that is. So extended fields, namespaces, user fields. Okay, so let me just copy that over as well. User fields, and we'll head back here to the event.js. There we go. And what we could do here now is just add in another log, let's say for console.log, custom fields, and log those custom fields. Okay, so again, in here, do what you want. Okay, so once you have that data, then you can already do whatever you want with it, whether it's using a custom Velo trigger to continue to an automation or to integrate via API to something else, or whatever you want to do here programmatically. So here you already have access to the data. I'm not going to be showing that step in this tutorial because it really is quite versatile. But as I said, next week there'll be a tutorial about triggering custom triggers from Velo, which I think will fit very nicely in here for the people who are interested. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and publish this change that we made. And I'm going to go to our site over here, and I'm going to open up in our developer tools, we have Wix logs. And this is where we're going to see those logs, those console logs that I put there in the backend in the event.js. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and run through a checkout very quickly, and then show you what it looks like here inside of the Wix logs. I'm back, and I've placed my second order on the site. Sales are really booming. And now we can go over to the logs, and here you can see the two console logs that we put inside of the events.js. And one has all the data from the entire order over here, and one has just the custom fields, which is the birthday, which is not actually my birthday, and favorite song, which I don't know if it's my favorite song, but it's up there. And now that we have access to that data, we could pretty much do whatever we want with it. So that's my answer to this struggle that people were having over here until very recently. Like somebody even posted about a day ago that they were still having trouble accessing this data. So I'm hoping that this tutorial helps these people out, and I want to invite you, if you are a viewer of the channel and you also are a user of the Wix forum, to tag me. That would be at the Wix Wiz inside of the Wix forum if you see a topic which you think would be a good topic for a tutorial. I obviously will not be able to make tutorials on every single post, even if I'm tagged in it, but it could be a cool way to bring my attention to something that a lot of people are struggling with. And I hope to make more videos like this where I address kind of real world problems inside of our channel tutorial. So if you enjoyed this approach and this kind of tutorial, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this every week, you can feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.